Kelechi was the definition of charm and confidence. In the bustling streets of Owerri, he was known as the guy every girl wanted, but no one could hold on to. With caramel skin that glowed under the sun, a perfectly carved jawline, and a voice that could melt hearts, Kelechi was a force to be reckoned with. What set him apart wasn't just his looks, it was his sweet mouth. Kelechi had a way with words. He could weave the perfect story, say the perfect line, and make every girl feel like she was the only one in his world. His conquests were countless: Ada from the next street, Ifeoma from the market, and even Amaka, who everyone thought was too uptight for his games. Kelechi's reputation was legendary, and he relished it. He didn't care about the rumors or the heartbreak he left behind. To him, it was all a game, a challenge to see how far his charm could take him. One day, Kelechi spotted a new girl in town. Chidimma was different. She wasn't overly flashy or desperate for attention, but there was something about her quiet confidence that intrigued him. She walked past him without a second glance, and for the first time in years, Kelechi felt invisible. He made it his mission to win her over. He pulled out all the stops: flowers, surprise visits, and even serenading her with his smooth voice. But Chidimma was unshaken. She saw through his charm and knew exactly who he was. "You think you can just sweet-talk your way into my life, Kelechi?" she said one day, her piercing gaze locking him in place. "I'm not like the others. Please leave me alone. I am not interested." For the first time, Kelechi felt a pang of shame. Her words hit harder than he expected. Kelechi couldn't shake Chidimma's words. He started to notice the emptiness in his life. Sure, he could get any girl he wanted, but what did he have to show for it? Broken hearts, a tarnished reputation, and a deep void he couldn't fill. Kelechi decided to change. He started attending church, seeking guidance from the pastor and elders in the community. He apologized to the women he had wronged, though not all of them were willing to forgive him. Chidimma watched from a distance, skeptical but curious. Over time, she saw the changes in him. Kelechi became a mentor to young boys in the neighborhood, warning them against the path he had taken. He spoke about self-respect, responsibility, and treating women with honor. Weeks turned into monthly, and Kelechi's transformation became the talk of the town. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying. One day he found Chidimma sitting under a mango tree. He walked up to her, this time not with charm or flattery, but with honesty. "I'm not here to impress you," he said. "I just wanted to thank you. You saw the worst in me and still believed I could be better." Chidimma smiled, and for the first time she let her guard down. "Maybe I did. Or maybe you just needed someone to tell you the truth." From that day, Kelechi and Chidimma grew closer. Her brother and friends kept warning her that Kelechi would hurt her and break her heart, but she defended him fiercely. "Kelechi is not the same man he used to be," she argued with her brother Emeka one evening. "I've seen the change in him. He's trying, and everyone deserves a second chance." Emeka shook his head, his frustration evident. "Chidimma, men like Kelechi don't change overnight. I know his type. He's playing you, and when he's done, you'll be left picking up the pieces." "I've heard enough," Chidimma snapped, her voice breaking. "You don't know him the way I do. He's not the monster everyone thinks he is." Her friends were no different. They whispered their concerns during lunch dates, exchanged worried glances whenever his name came up, and even staged a small intervention at one point. "Chidi," Ifeoma began cautiously, "we're not saying this because we want to hurt you. We're saying it because we care. You've seen what Kelechi has done to other women. Don't be another name on his list." Chidimma sighed, her patience wearing thin. "I'm not blind, Ifeoma. I know his past, but I also know he's trying to be better, and I choose to believe in that." Despite the voices around her, Chidimma stood firm in her belief that Kelechi had changed. And Kelechi, for his part, knew exactly how to reinforce her trust. He became more attentive, more present, and more loving. Every small gesture seemed designed to prove that he was a reformed man. Then, one sunny afternoon, Kelechi surprised her with a proposal. He had invited her to a quiet spot by the river, a place they often visited to talk and reflect. As they walked hand in hand, he suddenly stopped, turned to her, and dropped to one knee. "Chidimma," he began, his voice steady but soft, "you've taught me what it means to truly love and be loved. You've seen the worst in me, yet you believed I could be better. I want to spend the rest of my life proving you right. Will you marry me?" Chidimma stared at him, her heart pounding. For a moment, doubt flickered in her mind. Could this be real? Could she trust that his intentions were pure? But the way he looked at her, the vulnerability in his eyes, washed away her hesitation. "Yes, Kelechi," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'll marry you." That night, for the first time since they met, she let her guard down completely. They made love, and for Chidimma, it felt like the culmination of their journey, a union of trust and love. But unknown to her, it was all a game. The next morning, as she lay peacefully asleep beside him, Kelechi reached for his phone. Smirking, he opened the gallery and reviewed the video he had secretly recorded of their intimate night. His friend's words echoed in his mind. "You're slipping, Kelechi. All this talk about you changing, it's like she's bewitched you. If you're really still the Kelechi we know, prove it. Get her to bed and show us you're not whipped." Kelechi had initially dismissed the dare, but his ego couldn't resist the challenge. He had to prove he still had it, even if it meant betraying Chidimma's trust. Later that day, the video surfaced on social media, accompanied by a caption that read, "Bet won. Who said I couldn't get her?" The reaction was instant. The town buzzed with whispers, laughter, and condemnation. Chidimma's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Confused, she answered a call from Ifeoma, who was nearly screaming on the other end. "Chidimma, have you seen it?" "Seen what?" she asked, still groggy. Kelechi posted, "Oh my God, I can't even say it. Check your phone now." Chidimma's hands trembled as she opened her social media account. The video stared back at her, mocking her. Her heart dropped and her world shattered in an instant. Kelechi walked into the room, acting as if nothing had happened. "Morning, love," he said casually, but when he saw her face, he knew she had seen it. "How could you?" she whispered, her voice trembling with anger and disbelief. "How could you do this to me?" Kelechi tried to play it cool. "Chidimma, it's not what you think." "Not what I think," she screamed, her pain exploding. "You used me. You recorded us and shared it for everyone to see. I trusted you, Kelechi. I defended you." For once, Kelechi was at a loss for words. He had expected her to cry, maybe beg for an explanation, but the fury in her eyes was something he hadn't anticipated. "I was nothing but a game to you," she said, her voice breaking. "You're a monster, Kelechi. A heartless, cruel monster." Chidimma stormed out of the house, her heart heavy with betrayal. Kelechi, for the first time in his life, felt a pang of genuine regret. The thrill of winning the bet had faded quickly, replaced by a hollow ache he couldn't shake. The guilt gnawed at him, and the image of Chidimma's tear-streaked face haunted his dreams. He took the video down after a few hours, but the damage had already been done. The town was abuzz with chatter, and Chidimma's name was on everyone's lips. Kelechi thought about reaching out to her, but couldn't bring himself to face her immediately. Days passed, and the weight of his actions grew heavier. Finally, he mustered the courage to call her. When she didn't answer, he decided to go to her house. Standing at her gate, he hesitated for a moment before knocking. Chidimma opened the door, her expression cold and guarded. "Kelechi," she said flatly, "what do you want?" "Chidimma, I'm so sorry," he began, his voice trembling. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to know I regret everything. I was stupid, selfish, and I hurt the one person who truly cared about me. Please, Chidimma, give me a chance to make things right." She stared at him, her emotions a whirlwind. The pain was still raw, but beneath her anger, she could see his remorse. Against her better judgment, she sighed and said, "I'll think about it." Surprisingly, after a few more attempts to win her trust, Chidimma forgave him. Her friends were furious when they found out. "Are you serious, Chidimma?" Ifeoma shouted during a heated conversation. "This man humiliated you in the worst way possible, and you just take him back like nothing happened. What is wrong with you?" "I'm not saying I've forgotten what he did," Chidimma replied defensively, "but people make mistakes, and Kelechi is trying to change. Isn't forgiveness a virtue?" "Forgiveness is one thing," Emeka snapped, "but letting him back into your life is something else entirely. Can't you see he doesn't deserve you?" Chidimma stood her ground, even as her friends and family turned against her decision. She believed in second chances, and she convinced herself that Kelechi's remorse was genuine. Kelechi, however, couldn't resist the urge to prove his conquest once again. Within a week of their reconciliation, he posted a picture of them together, captioned, "She's back. Love always wins." The backlash was immediate. People were furious, not just with Kelechi, but with Chidimma as well. Gossip spread like wildfire, and accusations flew. "She's a fool," one woman said at the market. "How can she go back to a man who humiliated her like that? It doesn't make sense." "Maybe he's using juju on her," another whispered. "That's the only explanation. No sane woman would forgive him so easily." The rumors only grew wilder. Some speculated that Kelechi had visited a spiritualist to cast a spell on Chidimma. Others believed she was blinded by her love for him and couldn't see reason. Even Chidimma began to feel the weight of the public's judgment. One evening, she confronted Kelechi about the post. "Why did you post that picture, Kelechi? Do you enjoy stirring up trouble?" Kelechi shrugged, trying to downplay it. "I just wanted to show people that we're okay." "Is that so bad?" "It's not about us being okay," she snapped. "It's about respect. Do you know how hard it is to defend you when you keep making me look like a fool?" Kelechi sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't mean to upset you, Chidimma. I thought it would help silence the rumors." But the damage was done. The whispers and stares followed her everywhere. Even those who had once admired her began to question her decisions. Chidimma tried to hold onto her faith in Kelechi, but doubt began to creep in. Was she truly seeing a changed man, or was she clinging to the hope of something that would never be real? Meanwhile, Kelechi struggled with his own inner turmoil, torn between his old habits and the possibility of real redemption. Kelechi's true nature revealed itself yet again when he began taking a liking to Ifeoma, Chidimma's best friend. At first, Ifeoma thought she was imagining things. His lingering stares, the subtle compliments, the way he conveniently sought her out when Chidimma wasn't around. But when Kelechi boldly sent her a flirty message one evening, there was no longer any doubt. Ifeoma was furious. As a true friend, she immediately told Chidimma, "Chidi, I don't know how to tell you this, but your man has been hitting on me," she said during a private meeting. Chidimma's face fell, her heart sinking. "What do you mean? Are you sure it's not a misunderstanding?" Ifeoma shook her head and handed over her phone. "Look at this." Chidimma scrolled through the messages, her hands trembling as she read Kelechi's bold advances. Her shock turned to anger, and for the first time she couldn't defend him. "I can't believe this," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. "I trusted him again. I defended him against everyone." "Chidi, I think it's time to end this," Ifeoma said firmly. "But before you do, let's teach him a lesson he won't forget." "What do you have in mind?" Chidimma asked, wiping her tears. Ifeoma leaned closer, her eyes gleaming with determination. "He wants me." "Fine, I'll play along. I'll ask him to arrange a meet where we can spend quality time. You'll be there too, but we'll make sure he doesn't see it coming." Chidimma hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Okay, let's do it." A few days later, Ifeoma messaged Kelechi. "Hey, I've been thinking about what you said. Maybe we should meet somewhere private and talk." Kelechi responded almost instantly. "I knew you'd come around. How about tomorrow night? I'll set everything up." The following evening, Kelechi rented a cozy, secluded Airbnb and prepared for what he thought would be a romantic rendezvous with Ifeoma. He greeted her at the door with his trademark charm. "You look stunning," he said, flashing his most dazzling smile. Ifeoma forced herself to smile back. "Thank you, Kelechi. You went all out, huh?" "Only the best for you," he said, pouring her a drink. As the evening progressed, Ifeoma played her part perfectly, laughing at his jokes and pretending to be captivated by his every word. When Kelechi excused himself to use the restroom, Ifeoma seized the moment. She pulled a small vial of sleeping potion from her purse and poured it into his drink. When Kelechi returned, she handed him the glass, her heart pounding. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her own glass. "To new beginnings," Kelechi echoed, downing the drink in one gulp. It didn't take long for the potion to take effect. Kelechi's eyelids grew heavy and he began to slur his words. "Ifeoma, what's happening?" he mumbled, swaying unsteadily. "Don't worry," she said coldly, stepping back. "You'll find out soon enough." Moments later, Kelechi collapsed onto the couch, unconscious. Chidimma entered the room, her face a mixture of anger and heartbreak. She stood over Kelechi's limp body, shaking her head. "This is the man I defended," she said bitterly, "the man I gave everything to, and he betrayed me again." Ifeoma placed a hand on her shoulder. "What do you want to do now?" Chidimma, her face hardened with resolve, pulled out a small blade from her bag. Ifeoma's eyes widened. "Chidi, what are you doing?" Ifeoma asked cautiously. "I'm giving him exactly what he deserves," Chidimma replied, her voice cold and steady. She bent over Kelechi's unconscious body and made small, precise incisions on his manhood. Just enough to draw blood and cause him pain when he woke up, but not enough to cause serious harm. The cuts were shallow, more symbolic than violent. Ifeoma winced as she watched, holding her phone up reluctantly to record. "Are you sure about this, Chidi?" Chidimma didn't flinch. "He humiliated me, destroyed my reputation, and thought he could get away with it. It's time he knows how it feels to be stripped of his dignity." Once she was done, Chidimma stood and turned to Ifeoma. "Film this clearly. Everyone needs to see the truth about Kelechi." Ifeoma hesitated. "Chidi, this is going too far. Are you sure you want to post it online?" Chidimma nodded firmly. "He posted a video of me without my consent. This is justice." They ensured the footage revealed Kelechi's small manhood as well as his unconscious state, painting a picture of his vulnerability. Afterward, they uploaded the video to social media, leaving no doubt about who was responsible. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Within hours, the video went viral. Comments poured in, filled with shock, disgust, and mockery. "Serves him right," one person wrote. "I can't believe he had the audacity to humiliate her first," said another. But the criticism wasn't one-sided. Many condemned Chidimma's actions as excessive. "This is revenge, not justice," someone commented. "This could ruin him for life. She's no better than him," another user added. Meanwhile, Kelechi woke up hours later, groggy and in pain. When he noticed the blood and felt the sting, panic set in. Then he checked his phone and saw the video. His heart sank as he realized what had happened. "What have I done to deserve this?" he whispered, though deep down he knew the answer. The humiliation was unbearable. His friends deserted him, his reputation was shattered, and people avoided him like a plague. Everywhere he went, he heard whispers and saw mocking smiles. Chidimma and Ifeoma, on the other hand, tried to move forward. Chidimma knew her actions had consequences, but she felt a sense of closure. "Do you regret it?" Ifeoma asked one day as they sat together. Chidimma thought for a moment before replying, "I regret that it came to this. But I don't regret standing up for myself." Kelechi's life spiraled downward. His charm, once his greatest weapon, now seemed hollow. The lessons he had avoided learning finally caught up with him, leaving him broken and isolated. In the end, Chidimma found solace in moving on, determined never to let anyone else reduce her worth again. For Kelechi, the scars, both physical and emotional, served as a permanent reminder of the cost of his actions.